pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Usually there are times that we will do a moment of silence, and I think that today we will. Last Thursday, the Cape has lost another young soldier from here. Much has been written about him and his family, and I don't want to be as though I'm jumping on that wagon, but I do happen to know Steve personally and his wife, and I know their hearts are very heavy today, as they will be. And I don't want to not say there was another tragedy yesterday of a car accident I just read about, which my sympathy goes out to the parents of that young woman who was 19 years old. So
from Harvard High School. So.
If we just could have a moment for those two individuals and their families. Thank you. We shall begin. Are there any comments from the public? Seeing none, we have our agenda today. Let me read the official title. And you must identify yourselves for the camera.
Remember, you're not in showbiz.
Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. It's in bold. It's the Incident Management Team Update.
Yes.
How are you? Could you please state your names for...
Deputy Chief Mark Foley.
John Donlan, Assistant Fire Chief in Dennis.
Oh, great. Okay.
And I have a couple of minutes if you'd like. A little background information.
Is Sean coming here
Sean
today?
is actually at the REPC meeting as we speak.
Okay.
So he...
Oh, that's right. It's
at the same time.
Yeah.
It used to be at a different time, and I was able to go to them.
Yeah, it got moved about a year ago. So, basically, I'm just here to give you an update on the team and its place and time at the moment. I think, as most of you know, the incident management team is at this point, a subgroup or a subcommittee, if you will, of the Regional Emergency Planning Committee, the REPC, and the team has been in existence now for going on 3 years, maybe a little over 3 years, training and getting up to speed with the support of the commissioners and the REPC and the local towns also. The purpose of the incident management team is to give local communities command and general staff assistance in an incident that either goes for an extended period of time or is so complex that they just run out of personnel resources. The other things that the team can do is help to manage planned events as well as the emergency type events. And up to this point, that's what the team has been doing most of their work in for a couple of reasons. Number one, the team is using these exercises or planned events as exercises to build up their credentials and training opportunities under not so live fire. Now, maybe a minute or two to think about what you need to do in a planned event rather than an emergency situation. I can tell you that we have about a roster of about 20 to 25 active people on the team. The team is multidisciplined, multi-jurisdictional, meaning that it's not strictly fire or police, it's fire, police, health, DPW, utilities, hospitals. We have a very wide mix, a good discipline mix, which is what the team is supposed to be made of. That's the ideal. We are a Type 3 team, which means we're a regional team, as opposed to the other 5 types as a 1 and 2 or federal teams. That basically that's what they do full time, is manage large wildfire incidents or earthquakes, floods, disasters of that type.
Would that be FEMA?
FEMA. Mm-hmm. Some of them are state teams. Okay. There are some other entities, but there's about a half a dozen FEMA teams that are Type 1 or Type 2 teams. Mm-hmm. Then you get down to the state level, Type 3 team at a state level. State of Massachusetts, about 5 years ago, tried to implement a team, or at least got the initial training off the ground. But through change of administration and funding and some other problems, it kind of fell off the platform. It's no longer in existence. The state is looking at it again, trying to develop a plan to either have 1 or 2 Type 3 state teams available. We were luckily able to continue our training and efforts because of the REPC and the regional entity there, and because of the folks that we had available to us that had the training, to continue our regional team here as a Type 3 team. So that's a little bit of the history. We have gained through training and networking and experience and performing quite an audience in the national front. We have good ties with FEMA, good ties with the U.S. Fire Administration in Emmitsburg, and through those ties and relationships, we've been able to garner training opportunities, shadowing opportunities, funding. So we're at the point right now where the federal teams under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Fire Administration has chosen our team as one of 6 in the country to mate up or match up with a Type 1 team, meaning that when a Type 1 team gets deployed somewhere, our team would go alongside as a assistance to them, obviously, but more of a training opportunity, shadowing opportunity for our team. And that is huge. That is a huge opportunity that, you know, is hard to get to that level. So we really appreciate that. And it's due to the hard work of the folks on the team who've spent many, many hours training on their own, many of them, without pay or benefit, as usual. But knowing that the end result is worth it. So the good news about being tied to the Type 1 team is that any incident that they go to is a reimbursable incident, so costs will be recouped by the towns for backfill and such for the members of the team and expenses. So that's good. A lot of the training that we have done is, I just want to kind of plug the Fire Academy too.
Yeah, I was
because
going to say some of this out of the. I was going to ask that question. So
most of it has been coordinated through our local Fire Academy, the Marshall County Fire Rescue Training Academy, to get the trainings either locally or go get the trainings on a national site, either at Emmitsburg or Texas or wherever we need to go. So that's really been a coordinating effort. And again, because of the situation that we are in with a functioning county government and a functioning regional kind of government, we're ahead of the curve as opposed to people on the other side of the bridge that aren't as well positioned to take advantage of these opportunities as we are. So that's a plug for not only you and the county, but the REPC and the Academy and everybody involved.
Well,
We appreciate that, but
you know, when it comes time to discuss budget issues, or even a minor thing like a tax increase that might be a real estate deeds tax, people get all nervous because the word tax has a new connotation than it did 30 years ago. It takes money to have these services, which are our basic services, and that is where the local tax stays local, because those taxes would be had regardless, but they would go to the state, and now we're in a better position. So it's great that that's happening for this as well. Yes, Pat.
Just a question, where is your command center?
I'm
What
sorry?
do you use for a command center?
Well, it depends on where the incident is. We go to the incident generally. We do have, through surplus inventory, we have 2, for lack of a better word, command trailers or offices, mobile offices, and vehicles to pull those with supporting generator and some of the logistical things we need. We don't have everything we need, obviously, but the minimal basics, computers, laptops, printers, that kind of thing to get the job done. We haven't spent any money up to this point on any of that. We've managed to get it through surplus or donation or excess or whatever, or beg and borrow. So we've done pretty well there. As far as funding sources go, SERPED, which is the Southeastern Homeland Security Council that distributes Homeland Security funding, has appropriated $100,000 for our team to do training in the coming year, which is huge. Again, a huge opportunity. Myself, I'm going to Texas middle of this month to take some additional trainings. Deputy Donlin also going to be going down this month. We have members that are going to New York to Wildland Symposium Conference Training Center there, and I believe it's in October. And then there are other training opportunities that are available to us all over the country, basically. And having that SERPED money available to us to cover the costs is huge. You know, and we are getting, for the folks who work for towns, fire and police, DPW, those type of folks are getting the support of the towns to let them at least go, you know, maybe not being paid, but at least getting the time off to go for the training.
Has the state ever, and I'm not exactly sure of the justice, but have they ever done a drill? Like, do you have to do that occasionally? When they come down and say, we want to have a drill today and this is the incident?
The state really doesn't orchestrate that. I mean, MEMA, the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, coordinates some exercises, but it's more of a coordination thing than they come down and run it.
The REPC run drills.
You just did a huge one out of Yarmouth Dents, did you not? Just within the last month.
The sheltering drill,
The sheltering
and the
drill.
IMT manages that sheltering function. And writes the IEP, the Incident Action Plan, which is a written document that details how the incident is going to proceed, how it's going to operate, who's doing what, the process. We have managed, in some form or fashion, the Provincetown fireworks, the emergency dispensing drill that Sandwich does or did last year. Just recently, the wake and funeral for Corporal Exaros. We were logistically supporting that event, and many others I can even think of off the top of my head, but probably a couple dozen events that we have managed, or at least partially, or helped to manage the event. And it's not about coming in and taking over.
It's about supporting
The infrastructure that's there. We come into a town, the oil spill, or the tanker truck that rolled over in Howard, we were limited support to them, but any town these days just doesn't have the logistical personnel resources to completely manage an event, especially if it's a long duration event or a complicated, complex event. So we can come in and give those towns or departments trained folks within the command and general staff positions to help them manage the events and write a plan for the upcoming operational period, for the upcoming week, or the upcoming month, or whatever it is, and even mitigation and recovery.
That's great. Bill, you had
Yeah, I completed the ICS series through the 400 level, and the thing that occurred to me in doing that was an understanding of where a particular position was as elected officials versus staying out of the way of the of the incident commander. It occurs to me, since it's been I guess it's been about 3 years now since I completed the 300 series, as to and it's two parts. One, what are you recommending for people to get a refresher? And the second part is, when I took this training down in Alabama, down at we used to be Fort McClellan. They reported to me, well, the first time I went down, I was the first elected official they'd ever seen, and the second time I went down there, there'd only been two others, and I would put it out to the elected officials here on the Cape that training is an important way to understand what the incident command system is, and if nothing else, to know when to stay out of the way, as far as letting people do what they need to do, because a lack of understanding of how that command system works can interfere with delivering the services that we're talking about.
So I wanted to use this opportunity.
Since people might be watching, to suggest that I think the 100 and 200 certifications available through the Fire Academy. Is that
Actually,
correct?
they all
through
we
400?
go through the whole series.
Okay, so I would suggest to folks that haven't done that they indeed get involved with us.
We did, just for administration, we did class for the town administrators and anybody else who wanted to come. It's probably been about 2 years now. for them. And there's a specific course for them, 700A, that deals with administration level folks, that we should probably think about offering again too, with just change of administration or folks.
Exactly.
See, I'm impressed. I only got to 100.
And
I'm lagging behind here.
Well,
you
don't
don't wanna
pay
go
attention
that
to the
far.
level because there's IS 700 and IC. Don't get
Well,
don't get too
I just want to
complicated.
suggest that Bill didn't have to go all the way back down to Alabama to finish that series. So
Yeah, we can deliver
pick
it
up
right
on it
now.
now.
we can deliver that right
It
here.
was offered to department heads.
I'm sorry?
From the town of Plymouth.
Yep.
When I worked there, it was offered to the department heads.
Yeah.
It wasn't required, but it was offered and encouraged.
Yeah, we've done a couple of thousand folks here on the Cape through the Fire Academy at all levels, from 100 through 400, along with 700 and 800, and some of the other courses that we offer, or the other FEMA offers through us. So we have reached, again, because of the position that we're in to do that here at the county level. On the other side of the bridge, there's not that kind of impact and outreach. There's not enough courses available. There's not enough qualified instructors to teach the courses. It's very difficult to get it unless you're in direct, first responder mode or whatever. So we're pretty lucky there. And I have to say, most of the towns are in full compliance with the recommendations from the federal government, as well as the hospitals, utilities. We've done all of those folks. So it's been very.
Did we stop you midstream? Or was
No,
that
no,
wrap that up?
I'll just go as long as
That
you
was
let
the
me.
end. Okay.
Whatever you like. Take questions, whatever you like.
So this is still, if this does not differ from the emergency response team.
Well,
How is it different?
which
I think you work together with them. Now, we had people here from the emergency response team. We had Sean, some of the fire chiefs. We had the Red Cross representative.
you're talking about the REPC?
Yes,
Yes.
the REPC.
Yeah.
Thank you. My acronyms.
Yeah, I know. There's
I
1,000
have to- I know,
acronyms out
so I
there.
have to-
And part of NIMS is supposed to be plain English, and then they have a book that's about this thick full of
Right,
acronyms. So.
to let you know.
Yeah. The REPC's primary charter and mission is to deal with hazardous materials recognition, planning, and events. We have, because again, regionally, we've been able to exceed that
Original charter.
and expand that group into other areas, the shelter, regional sheltering, the IMT, and some other areas.
Okay, so it's all under the umbrella.
Yeah, it's under the umbrella
Okay,
of the regional.
so this is just another sort of department or
yeah, if
section
you will.
of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good.
If
Yep.
the Cape had to be evacuated, what role might you play in that? I read today's paper about the accident yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, the huge traffic jam.
Yeah.
And someone made the comment, if the Cape had to be evacuated, how would people ever get off?
Well,
I know how I'm going. A boat to the Martha's Vineyard
Yeah.
plane, so I'm all set.
Oh, well,
No, it's just kidding.
The state doesn't even use the term evacuation for the Cape because even they have come to realize that
Not gonna happen.
it's not a practical term to use. So they have come up and developed a plan that's called the Regional Traffic Plan. But really what
That's meant for is
hopefully there's notice and people are moving in the event of a hurricane. People are moving off Cape at least 24, 48 hours in advance. There comes a time when the traffic's still here and either the bridge is closed or the elements just get beyond the control or safety becomes an issue. So that plan actually diverts traffic to MMR as a military reservation for sheltering in place. Approximately 3,000 shelter operation there, which the REPC is certainly involved with. What that plan does not take into account for is really anything below exit 4 down to the lower Cape.
right.
Now, having said that, there is an ongoing discussion, or at least the start of a committee to look at from exit 4 to Provincetown, because you pretty much have to look at that.
you're going to take on the rest of the issue.
And that will be much like the traffic plan in the sense that it'll have to look at the regional shelters and getting people off of the highway into the regional shelters as a sheltering place.
And that's why you have identified those 6 across
Right.
the Cape, and you went through that strategy, and I thought it was actually a very good thing that you did it right as the summer was starting, because you had an idea of
Right.
an influx of traffic that isn't normally here, and
Right.
so that kind of gave you more of a realistic challenge
Yeah.
on doing what you were doing. But
It
it
seems,
is tough.
yeah, it seems more and more, though, from the Florida hurricanes to Katrina, that people really began to understand that when the warnings come, it's best to get out as soon as you can and not wait.
Right.
From the first episode, from the first hurricane to the last one to
Right.
Katrina, I think people pretty much got that
That's it, but it probably has to be brought home
more and more, because you forget.
And there are some timing
3 or 4
issues
years ago.
with just because of where we live.
Mhm.
People think there's a lot of advance warning, and sometimes there isn't a lot of advance warning. If there's a storm off the coast of North Carolina, it could be here in less than 6 to 8 hours.
Right.
And
That's
that's just the reality. And 6 to 8 hours on a Sunday, you know what it's like on a 6 to 8 hours of traffic leaving the Cape. So with little notice, or overnight, or on a sunny day when people aren't listening to the broadcasts, it could become a critical situation. But that's why we're here. That's why we're planning. That's why we're doing these things about forestalling the best we can, the regional shelters and such.
It is one of those things that it's like a military operation. You have to keep drilling and drilling and drilling, and it might feel like, oh well, the war is never coming, or the attack has been there, and we're ready for it now, so let's do it. But it is an exercise that's necessary, and I guess what the citizens have to realize, especially in the Outer Cape, we had that incident, the microbursts down in the Outer Cape in that December, about 3 years ago, or 4 years, December 9th, and that blocked off everything from Orleans down. And then we had the accident yesterday, which was another example, and that happened also a couple of days after 4th of July on the Outer Cape as well, which held that up right in Wolfley. So I know that once you're down there and you can't get off, it is either swimming or the boat. You're gonna get a little raft somewhere and a dinghy and start rowing off.
Actually, responsible sheltering in place is really the preferred method for folks here on the Cape.
Right.
Unless you're really against the shoreline or in a floodplain, as long as you can shelter in a reasonable place, if your house is substantial, if it's in a safe place, that's the reasonable thing to do. If that's not an option, the regional shelters are obviously a good option. If you have time and wherewithal and
Place to go.
Then obviously getting off of the Cape is a reasonable thing to do. But they're all three reasonable things to get by a storm.
Well, even though we're very well prepared, I hope we never really have to put it into a
certainly.
major practice that way,
No.
because it's still going to have its glitches.
Oh yeah, well, there's no question. No matter how much
But that's okay.
plan and prepare, that you're not going
Right.
to foresee every possible circumstance.
Is there anything you would like other than updating us? Is there any?
No, just the team wants to extend that they appreciate the support from the county, from the commissioners, from the REPC, from the towns, from the departments. And moving forward, there will be some requests of more memorandums of understanding, especially between employees in the towns, the county departments and the county that may have to become put to
More
paper.
official, right.
So that'll be coming,
Right.
especially as we move up the chain here and become linked up with the Type 1 team. That'll be a huge
Right.
undertaking, and we'll have to do some
And of
legal-
course, we're all hoping that they don't look at our dispatch system and say, it's not part of corrections. So we are anticipating that, although I don't think that that's going to happen in the immediate future, that's something that could, and I think we're on it.
Yeah. And long term for the county government, and regional look at things, and this is my humble opinion, I think it's joined by others, but we should be looking at regional EOC, Emergency Operations Center,
Right.
regional dispatching, whoever is running it, but a
Right.
regional center. Those are the kinds of things that the Cape really, in an emergency management mode could benefit from.
I think that's what I was thinking about when I talked about a command center, was really a near state.
Right. Right now, I mean, each town is sovereign, and we don't, you know, we recognize that, and they each run their own incident, even though it may be a large storm or whatever that impacts wide area of the Cape. Each town is really acting independently, joining forces much better than they ever did before. But still, at the end of the day, they're acting independently and spending their money on the event.
And this is where we really do
have to keep educating.
and keeping that communication together, because the more we realize that we are having less money, that each person can have their sovereignty, and that's a very good word to use, and yet we have more to face together, that we're going to have to not be afraid to give up, because I do think that by going that step forward, we will find that we're going to gain more than we think we are, and we're going to lose less than what we think we are. So we are all, that spit of land is called Cape Cod, not just Harwich or Dennis or Yarmouth or whatever. And that's how we have to start really approaching these larger issues. So I appreciate that.
Many things we do well together, and need to keep it, thinking outside of the
box if we can.
those places where we can do it more efficiently, more effectively, and emergency management is certainly one of those areas.
Right. Where it can't be about an individual trying to maintain control, because the picture's too big.
Right.
So, do you have anything you'd like to add? You
My brother here,
moral support.
my held my hand.
Yes. I need to, the REPC on the Cape is well respected, and it's known throughout the country, and certainly New England has become a model for a lot of REPCs. I was on the phone with FEMA the other day and talking to a gentleman. He said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Cape Cod." He said, "Oh," he says, "I've heard about the Barnstable County REPC," and he said they're doing very good things down there. So, and it is a great system, and it's working well. The IMT is more the response section of that REPC, and certainly we've been in the business long enough to know that when anything large happens, I can't do it alone.
Dennis
and East End can do it alone. And this is a good opportunity to put teams together, put people together that know how to manage incidents of all types, and not just fire incidents, but police incidents and health incidents and whatever involved. Put the people together and run the incident appropriately. So it's a good system, and it's certainly a reasonable offshoot of the REPC, and gives us an opportunity to branch out and help other communities. And regionalization is something that we need to look at. It's certainly something that has good applications in a lot of situations.
Great. Well, I thank both of you and the entire team, as we all do, for your constant vigilance on this effort, and for reporting to us.
Sure.
We will, of course, keep you up to date as to whatever changes. I'm actually told that the sheriff's bill is being voted on today.
It was.
It was.
It's on the governor's desk.
No, it's been voted on sometime.
Without-
Yeah, that's right. It was on. It was on Friday, and
Last Friday.
it's to be signed today. Am I right? They
Well,
thought
I
it
don't
was
know.
going to
We
be
had
today.
10 days from last
all we heard was it was on the governor's desk.
Okay.
It had been passed by both houses.
Right.
Well, it came out of conference
Somebody told me that it was
last
today
Friday.
was going to be the day, so we'll see by the
So
end.
it had some, I
I
don't
haven't
think
heard
it had
anything.
any real modifications.
But
when
then we
it came
can
out
sort of look
conference.
at where we're going from this point on. And this is a hurdle we have to get over. And I do think that we're all on the same team, including the sheriff and the fire departments, and we have to just be able to relax a little bit with each other and go forward on these things and find solutions. So I have no doubt that we'll be able to do that.
Sure we will.
So
As Mark said, I think that's unique to Cape Cod. In having dealt with other agencies in Massachusetts,
you don't see that.
no,
you don't see police departments, fire departments, and health departments talking, coordinating,
Right.
and working together. So
Indeed, when I went down to the National Association of Counties and when I went down to Alabama, the fact that we already were sitting at the table had everybody amazed. They wanted to know how we did it. I said, it's just the habit that we have of working together here that got us to the table. But the reason we stayed at the table was that we all continued to work together and look to the look to the general interest rather than any parochial interest that was going on. So I don't know how much of that they heard, but I get questioned on that in all of the network sessions that that I've gone to when I've gone down to these county official meetings.
Statewide and nationally, they look to the Cape for all kinds of models, the sheltering model, the REPC model, even the INT model,
Right.
as far as the state. So
And our state Department of Health, looks at our. I mean,
Exactly.
we're sort of ahead of the game on many of the programs and initiatives that our health department does.
we can all be proud of that.
So we do have a lot to be proud of, and a lot to build on, a lot of great success that we can even do more with,
That's right.
with less.
That's
So, all right.
All right.
I think that. Do you have any other further questions, Bill?
Thank you.
No?
I really
anytime.
appreciate that.
And,
So good to see you.
Oh,
We'll
thank
be
you.
in touch.
There is one thing.
Mhm.
Would somebody from your group be available a week from this coming Monday? I think it's what month? Did you get a calendar?
A calendar.
I don't have one on
Okay,
me.
but question is, what date is a week from Monday?
The 10th.
A week from
No, the 17th.
The week
Okay,
after
August
that.
17th. I'd like to have somebody come down and let's say go over this for, on my county chatter show, so that way you'll get some
Oh, sure.
more stuff on 3
Sure.
o'clock. I think you know where it is. It's 3 over at Yarmouth,
Mhm.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock on
On August
From
17th.
August 17th. That's a Monday, right?
Yes, someone can.
Sure.
Okay, so let me know.
I'll call you.
Yeah, and then I think that would be a good thing, because this is, especially the sheltering in place issue,
Yeah.
when we're coming to the beginning of what I call the intense hurricane season,
Yeah.
and I think it would be useful for people to see that.
Yeah. The only one last comment I'll make on the sheltering issue is that, Yarmouth is well on the way to be fully functional shelter, and we're working on the other 5, some to more degree than others. But the
I'm within
local,
walking distance of Cape Tech, so I know where one of them
yeah,
is, yeah.
and they're very up to speed.
Yeah.
But some places like Nauset and Sandwich and Mashpee and Barnstable are going to need some logistical support along the way, especially in terms of the pet sheltering, the medical infrastructure needs, not so much the medical in terms of fire and police, but the in shelter care, the
Right.
MRC functions.
If there's emergencies to take care of.
On the spot.
Those things are gonna need to be,
We're going to have to
Identified.
identified and get some ground support in those areas
Right.
to beef up those teams,
Right, and supplied and that sort
Yeah.
of thing, so that they're
Yeah.
ready to go. Right.
funding sources and things like that.
Okay. Well,
Right.
anything you know that we can do to help.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
the time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Always a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Mark.
Okay.
Thank you for your support.
Okay,
Certainly appreciate
thank
it.
you.
I'll leave these with the. Okay.
Is that all we have on our agenda?
We have to approve the minutes. of the
We have to
meeting.
approve the minutes.
July 15th.
Yes, here it is. You received those minutes from last meeting?
No, they should be, well, actually, they should be in the file. They should be in the blue folder.
In the blue folder?
Right on top.
Oh, yeah.
There's also some revised minutes in there.
Oh, yeah,
as well,
this is
correction
the one,
from-
July 22nd.
I will make a motion that we accept the minutes of July 22nd.
Second?
All in favor?
Could I just see the one that just
Sure.
just to show you which one they were signing?
I think,
These are just the, needs action.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good. All right.
okay. These are what we got in our all in favor?
Aye.
And we have our needs actions.
Items 1 through 27.
Yes.
I move that we approve.
Does anyone have any, did you have an issue?
No, no, just wanted to make that. I'll move that we accept the,
And you,
I'll second.
all in favor?
aye.
Aye. There are a couple of items to discuss. I guess what we have next is the report from the commissioners. And Who would like to take the lead on that? Mr. Doherty?
I went to Nashville for the National Association of Counties, and I've sent you a copy of the report. But the main thing I wanted to point out was how all the county commissioners down there were being told by secretaries from the executive branch on how important they were for the delivery of the intent of the stimulus program. That it was at the regional level where where the rubber met the road, and where there was the best opportunity for it to be successful. They said, and every secretary said this, that we had a chair or had a seat at the table. Now, I pointed out to them during the Q&A that we had tried as a county to get state approval for the Green, for the Green Community Act, and that we were shot down on it. And I said, how can you tell me that the Obama administration wants to see regional application in order to deliver these services, and yet when we approach our own Commonwealth, we basically are told that they take a different view of how this is supposed to work. The other piece that was very important to us was the access and the eligibility for the the energy efficiency community block grants. I was very disturbed over the fact that Massachusetts was excluded because the federal government took the opinion without talking to us or without looking at us that we didn't have a functional regional, let's say functioning regional or county government. So I pointed that out to them, and I'm happy to tell you that there's a resolution that's going through that the National Association of Counties will lobby for, which asks for eligibility for access to the energy efficiency community block grants be given to Massachusetts, Maine, and I believe Vermont and New Hampshire. Now, if indeed we're successful in getting our eligibility for that piece, to me that would lead into a restoration of our ability to get access as a county over 200,000 population to direct access for the human service grants, where there has been continuing money. The stimulus package, of course, is only operating in its narrow window. But the ability to apply directly to the feds without going through the filter of the Commonwealth, I think, could be very important to our community. So to the county. So anyway, I want you to know that that was going through. Now, if you want to read or see all the resolutions, then it's a fairly extensive document. It will be available on the NACO website as of August 15th, as well as all of the programs and seminars that they ran. So if you have some interest in that, I would recommend that you go there. The second thing is that I did, in order to help launch our community, what's the first acronym of SEDS? Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. I had Leslie Richardson on the County Charter Program on Monday, and we taped a program to talk about some of the action steps in the 16 concept areas, as well as making sure that people were aware of how important it was to have the connection and the approval on that strategy in order to become eligible for the 37. For example, there are 37 programs that have been identified as being town-specific, and it's because they're on this certified plan. And Tuesday, I guess you were both at the announcement of the certification for the feds.
Pat was at I was there.
All right,
and I will give a report.
And I was in Nashville, so you give a report on that part. But it's kind of exciting, and I think that this is it's important for us to be speaking to the community on a regular basis about these ongoing programs that we're actually putting in place, that we have, that we can show that there's not just a consulting program we put on the shelf, but actually there are action phases, on it. And Leslie spoke of the fact of how much he appreciated the leadership of Paul Zwicky, for example, on his ability to actually formulate this program, get it underway, put it on the road, and certainly I think we should be very pleased with the fact that we have him that in support this very important activity. That's it.
Bill, what do other counties, I mean, there must have been people from counties all over the country. What are their overriding issues?
Overriding
Are they
issues.
similar to ours? I mean,
Well,
money obviously is
Well,
number one.
the health insurance
And the health
escalation
insurance?
is huge. As a matter of fact, I did get an executive summary that unfortunately I wasn't able to scan it in for the, when they send the email. But it talks about the escalating, the escalating cost of that. They're all concerned about the economic climate as far as a reversal in their ability to programs, and they're seeing seeing a lot of foreclosures, and they're very concerned. But they joined me in the questions about if the feds are saying that we're supposed to have direct access to this and to stimulus money in order to deliver the services, they'd like to know why we're being told that we have a seat at the table when we don't, when the chairs are locked up. So the piety that that I got from the feds was, well, it's their, it's the intention. I mean, it's a great intention of having these services delivered closer to the point of need, but it doesn't seem to be. There was another issue that a lot of county commissioners were concerned with, and that is these issues of so-called shovel-ready projects that are supposed to provide employment for small business, local contractors. What they have found, and this is not just true in Massachusetts, it's true from the rest of the country, that the small contractors, the local business people, don't have the administrative overhead in order to respond to the accountability piece that the feds are requiring. So unless you're a big union contractor with a lot of administrative overhead infrastructure, it's difficult. So they've seen in one case in Indiana, they had an outfit from Chicago come down to Evanston, which is in southern Indiana, and they have 12% unemployment. So it was like people were coming in to do jobs in the community, and there was no work for the people in the community. So that was all. That's all part of what needs to be sorted out. This is what county officials are concerned with.
Well, even here, about I'd say a month or 6 weeks ago, the state announced the stimulus funding for the towns.
Cities and towns
who had shovel-ready projects that were approved, and they even determined the amount of money each city or town was going to receive. And just this past week, they changed it. They added more communities to it, and then that decreased the amount that had been previously committed to the different towns.
It's tough to plan when
Well, I mean, I just say Falmouth is a good example because Falmouth was designated to get $8.1 million for the wind turbines, and now it's been reduced to something like 5.2. So that just throws one completely out of the mix. And can't fund it. So I don't know. There are all kinds of problems with that, I guess.
I think there needs to be an opening of a clear line of communication between the people who are intending these programs to be helpful and the people that are between us that seem to be interfering with or impeding the progress that could be made.
Okay. Pat, do you have
No.
anything you would like to? Okay, I will give a couple of updates on things here. Just to underline what Bill just said, I do think that even though the state and the federal government definitely is promoting regional efforts, some of the ways that they are carrying out some of their policies are counterintuitive to that idea. So I agree with you there. However, the SEDS implementation, I was actually asked, Paul is out of town this week, so I was asked to attend a chamber meeting this morning before the full chamber of Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, along with David Willard, to talk about the SEDS program. And David did a fine job about how the EDC came to partner with the Cape Cod Commission in looking at this. And just since we do have a camera rolling, the SEDS is the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy that each region is asked to do every 5 years at the request of the federal government. This happens all across our country. And those projects that are identified during this exercise are then able to, if the document is approved, they are then able to apply for federal grants to get these capital municipal projects forward. And there are many components that you have to meet, and a lot of it is working together, bringing stakeholders, having input, that sort of thing. This was a unique process that was put together this year. They've been done in the past, they've been approved in the past, and those projects were approved with it. Although I don't think anyone ever really understood the SEDS process the way they do more so now because of the way this was rolled out. Anticipating that this was the 5-year deadline for this, the Cape Cod Commission, who's the department that this goes through, did approach the EDC, had a partnership, discussed how they could go together, how you could work together in this. A lot of it was, they had 3 phases. The first one was gathering the information, how was it going to roll out, developing the model together, and the second was doing a focus group strategy. And that is really where the Cape Cod Commission in some ways stepped back. The EDC was brought on as the advisory and implementation of this SEDS strategy. And there were stakeholders, the workshops
Involved,
reviewing infrastructure, industry development, I have it written down in another notebook, workforce development, and there were 2 other workshops that I can't remember off the top of my head. Do you?
Finance.
No, but it was finance. It was industry development and looking at the economic picture and economic development. So and they were headed up by Wendy Northcross of the Cape Cod Chamber, David Augustino of the Workforce Development, and various other people. Elliot Carr headed up one on the picture of economic development across the Cape. These were very intense focus groups. Many of the same people came to the table. How this started was, we all sort of know what these problems are. We've been kicking them around for 10 years. Now what are we going to do about them? Let's really get a plan. And I think that because they had a limited amount of time, input, and they had to stay focused, there was great synergy that came out of these work groups. The plan was brought together, 12 to 16 major priority capital plans went forward, and then many others followed that are also in there. And they were all put on the list. The program was put together, the SEDS document. And this gentleman from the Economic Development Agency came, Matt I'm going to ruin his name, but it sounds like Sukabelski, something like that. And anyway, he was a very, very nice guy, and he was there to talk about how towns can access this grant money. And what became very clear in his very descriptive approach of how this works was that if you do not work through the Cape Cod Commission and partner with them in developing your plan, it's not going to be even considered by the federal government. And now with the partnering of the Economic Development Council of the county, who has now engaged, they are really the lead and the overseer of all of these projects. So the EDC has now become very relevant and active in economic development on a regional basis. You know, they changed their tack from going from municipality to municipality with large grants, business to business with smaller grants, and they're really trying to make a large investment on a regional basis. And already you can see that the way this is being pulled out is working well. So the EDC is now a very relevant economic development overseer and advisor. The Cape Cod Commission is going to be implementing. They are the people who are going to put this into place. And it's a very exciting time, I think, for the county, for the EDC, for the Cape Cod Commission, and Cape Cod in general. There are several projects here that are ready to go. I believe that they're going to be funded before this. There's going to be funding coming in to start some of these, according to this gentleman, before the year is out. And he also wanted to say that he was brought onto the agency in November, but he is
on the team who's been there between 20 and 40 years. And the gentleman who's been there for 40 years and has gone and
seen, SEDS documents, all of those years, said that this was one of the best and most comprehensive document they've ever seen. And so there were people in the room saying, well, where should we look if we want to see a proposal or a grant written out that's really good? And he said, well, they're online, but you really don't have to go any further than here. I mean, this was one of the best that we had ever seen. So I have to congratulate the EDC and the Cape Cod Commission for this feat. They did get their approval for this SEDS, and now they're in the implementation phase. So again, it isn't just sort of identifying projects where the municipalities are now left to sort of, carry forward and get these done. They will be providing the technical assistance, and the push and the drive to make sure that these projects go through. So I think it's a really great thing. The other thing I wanted to say is that he added was that he's been talking with Leslie Richardson and Paul about there is sort of like what we were looking for in the green communities, a designation of a economic district. And this SEDS document has
Is this the same guy from the state?
yeah, from the EDA, and he said he's from the EDA. Yeah, he's the state representative, but from the feds.
Oh, okay.
So he's the federal. He's the Fed.
Okay.
Yeah, and he
The one
keeps
with the
saying
real
it's
money.
speaking as a Fed. Yeah, and he was the one that gave this
Right.
whole presentation and all these kudos.
Okay, so it's the Fed guy.
It's the Fed guy.
The guy with the pocketbook.
Yes, that's
Okay,
right.
all
So he is.
The most important guy in the room.
That's right. So he is the one that gave us unsolicited praise, but he also said that we are well on our way to getting to being designated as an economic district. It's the first step. This has been such a comprehensive plan. This is something that can take 5-6 years. He figures that we might be able to do this within about 2 to 3, which means we will be getting more monies in as a economic district, and where it will eventually pay off any of the investment from the EDC to this program,
Now,
and then some.
Are there any other economic districts that have been designated by the feds? Did he mention?
Not that I mean, we weren't. I'm sure there has to be some in Massachusetts. I don't know where they are, but but this would be the first.
He would have brought it up because
Right.
this is the same type of thing I hear from the other county commissions when we talk about the programs. We just had the REPC people, and we're a model for the rest of the state. The only thing that ever screws up is when the state decides that they're not going to put the money down here. Whenever we talk directly to the feds, they have an open door for us. When I talked about the programs to the feds that were down, that's what we wanted. That's what we wanted to see. That's the kind of thing that makes sense to it. So if the Fed guy doesn't have to go through the state EDs, then I think I'd have some optimism that we'd actually see some
No,
more
he
money.
just said that we're way ahead of the game. I mean, the way things are going and the way the plan has been put forward.
Did he have? What was his line authority with this outfit? Was he a spokesperson? Was he a department manager? Or
He's the department manager of the
Okay,
economic
all right.
of these.
So he has a level of authority,
Yes.
and he's not just speaking from.
No,
Okay.
no. He would be part of that.
What was his first name?
His name is Matthew, and I have his. It's SUCHCOLDO.
WSKI, so it's such
Sokolowski.
It's such, but you have to say it's such cold.
Sokolowski.
Yes. So A very nice fellow, and we do have his information.
He wasn't the same one that was at the final presentation of the sets.
No.
No.
No, he
Okay,
was not.
I would like to suggest that in your role as chair, you send a thank you note for that, from all of us.
I will.
And say that we're looking forward to following up and asking what next steps we could do in order to facilitate his wish to make this thing happen.
Well, I will, but I'm also going to, and I wanted to actually get this up before I got to this meeting today, and I wanted to get it before the chamber yet this morning. I do want to congratulate the EDC and the Cape Cod Commission, because their collaboration and effort, and I said this to the chamber today, the EDC, I think, did a very bold and brave move in that by investing almost all of their funding monies and investing that in the work of the Cape Cod Commission and in the team that's there to be able to implement this effort with them as the overseer, was an example of not being afraid to give up what some people would look at as, if I hold the money, I have the power.
Except that we always have the power because we're the ones that approve the money.
I understand, but they were the ones that came to us with this idea and plan, and I give them all the credit in the world for working together and not being afraid to do so. And I think that the county and the towns and the different entities that are afraid to work with each other should look at this and see that by doing so, they gained, they didn't lose. And we are all going to gain down the road.
As the EDC defined the goals of this,
yes, they are the advisory, and they are going to be the overseer. They will be part of. They will be the branch of accountability for every step of this way of this process.
Does that mean that they are going to provide a recommendation for approval if these programs go forward?
Bill, I don't know those specific details,
Well,
but
I
they
think-
are part of the
I
advisory.
think it's important to understand where they fit in, because I was going to ask you a question about the wastewater collaborative, for example. I
Yes.
haven't heard anything.
I know.
about it.
I just heard from Andy. He just he was on vacation, and things should be rolling because I wanted that to be done and over with before mid-September. So.
And it's clear that if we give them a charge as far as what their oversight role is supposed to be, or they
You're talking about the EDC?
Yeah.
Well, they're meeting Thursday.
Yes, and this is
Tomorrow,
all going to be,
as a matter of
yes.
fact.
Okay.
So I'm happy to bring that up.
Yeah, would you know, because I think it's important to know what they see as their specific, nuts and bolts role, because having oversight, suggests a lot of things. Do they see themselves in a position of wanting to, to speak to, we like this, or we don't like that type of thing? It would be important to know that, so that going in, there wouldn't be any misunderstanding later on about what exactly the level of responsibility that they expect to fulfill.
I think it's large.
Okay, but if you would bring that up,
Sure,
that
I
would
will.
be great.
I also met with several fire chiefs this week. They just asked to speak. Of course, there's always concern about, the dispatch, and I think that now that emergency has passed and we're able to take a deep breath, I think that everyone, the fire chiefs are willing to work with and find solutions.
What emergency is speaking of?
Well, there was the CMed. The CMed was, being threatened to be to no longer exist because of the dispatch.
I guess I didn't know that.
Yes, you did. This is. Let me bring you back. It was when the hospital gave $50,000, and
Oh,
then we.
CMed.
Yes, that's CMed.
CMED, not SE, not
yes,
Southeastern.
CMed. Right, no.
Hyphen,
Yeah, the CMed
All these
dispatch.
acronyms.
So, I think that it's probably worth our while to continue dialogue. That the point that they make, and I think it's a legitimate one, is that even though the state and even in the legislation that hopefully is being signed today states that the dispatch stays with the sheriff and it stays as a regional function, a year from now, 2 years from now, if times are tough, they might say, you know what, the sheriff's function is really corrections, and we can't be. This is like a weight that we don't want to support anymore. So Either they absorb it or they just let it go. So we do have to think about and plan for that day and think about that day. So I told them that there was that we were very well aware of that, and I had some ideas that in the course of time, if I will, I'll try to put those forward. But it was a very nice discussion and a healthy discussion, and I encouraged them to speak with the sheriff as well. So, and that is, I think that's my update.
Could I ask a question? There was a meeting, if I recall, at the military reservation.
Yes.
And wasn't the sheriff at that meeting? And weren't these fire chiefs at that meeting?
Everybody was at that meeting. But
That's
Was there any resolution at that point?
only that we offered $50,000 to keep CMed until, and that has to be passed by the assembly. Yes, to carry that forward to January, and hopefully we can have everything resolved. The legislature is working to see if they can find a funding stream to take care of
They
this.
were waiting to get the report from the Department of Public Health because they were asked by the legislature to give them an overview of how CMed operates in 5 districts of the state. And the people from DPH were there. So they really didn't have too much to say other than that they had to get it out within 10 days. So I imagine that would be like now, because that was about 10 days ago.
Yeah, I think it was the beginning of September they were going to have their
Yeah.
final recommendations.
As to how it should be funded.
Okay.
Because
Is it possible that we would not have to come up with that money to support it?
If they could pass.
just, I don't know.
actually, what's the actual date? I saw in the Cape Cod Times where the sheriff, the effective date of the transfer was January, but we heard that it was October. So
Yeah, we
has
heard
it
it was
changed?
October 1st.
Does anybody know if it
I
changed?
don't know.
I don't either.
I think that's why it's important to know if the government
Yeah,
actually
we
signed
need to
that.
know if
We
the
need to
date
know
was
that.
moved from
But the
October
date-
1st to
the
January
date of
1st.
implementation, I think, would be in the legislation, because
Yeah.
there has to be some expected date on that.
And I did ask the state rep that, but he didn't actually know the exact
No.
date.
Who do we know that we could call to find out what?
I will call
Okay.
Senator O'Leary's office this afternoon. Nate will be able to tell me. And that's really all I have to update. Is there any other business? We'll be over at the assembly this afternoon.
Right.
If there is no further
I don't
comments,
have
are there any questions?
Oh, there's a question.
Oh, yes, Children's
Advisory
Oh, yeah.
Cove.
Yeah.
They need a commissioner on their board.
Who's been?
Children's Cove.
Who's been that?
Mary LeClaire was
Mary
that
LeClaire?
in the past.
And then Lance was on that as well. No, okay, so there's nobody, none of us, I thought one of us picked that up.
It-
Okay, who, you want to draw straws or what?
No, I mean, I have no problem doing. How often they meet every other month? Do they?
I would have to check their schedule, but I can also check back from your first meeting in January to see if at that time I have a
Okay,
master
that's
list
okay.
of
I thought somebody
appointments.
picked that up.
I did too,
I
but
did
I'm
too,
not
too.
sure if it was you
Okay.
or I, but if
Yeah,
whichever,
it's either one of us.
if it is myself, I'll be happy to do it, but whatever. So maybe it'd be good
And I
to
think-
check.
Okay, I
If
will
you can
double
check
check
that
and let you know.
and let us know this
And
afternoon.
I wouldn't be able, I
And
wouldn't
you would
object
be
to.
tomorrow.
No, I
I
can
mean,
let you know this
okay,
afternoon.
Sure.
It's right in my desk.
Okay.
But, you know, they deserve to have somebody on the board.
Yes, they
And
do.
It's kind of funny because they had 2 people, 2 commissioners, and now, nobody's showing up.
Right.
Oh.
Right. Yes, Stacy has had. I saw her the other day, and she mentioned that to me that she misses our presence. Isn't that nice? As we're wrapping up, I do want to say that at the meeting today, the real estate people were there. Of course, Mr. Neitz was there, and they started to talk, and he said, "Well, don't talk to her because she raised her tax." And I said, "No, Dick, I just want you to know it wasn't enough." So he tried to ignore it, but he couldn't. But home prices rise across the U.S., and what they did say is that the good news from Jack Mead that they received before they came to that meeting was that foreclosures are down on Cape Cod, and sales have picked up. Now, there is a change you know, you can look at, there is a silver lining in all bad times. Those homes that go between 50 and 100 and 100 to $200,000 have increased.
Yeah.
And they're actually, there are some homes that are more affordable than they once were for those families who do live on Cape. So that is a good thing, and it does look like the indicators are showing that some of those families are being indeed bought by year-round Cape
Yeah.
Cod
I
residents.
think that the measure of, you know, of the success or impact would take place after July 1st. And
Right.
I think it would be useful to see, if you're doing the assessment, you have to look at what business
Usually falls off.
and I don't think we sell too much in the middle of the summertime. I think it picks up in September.
Right.
So I would be very interested to find out what our figures are in a month that usually shows a high degree of activity, to see whether or not that represents an increase or decrease over the previous year or over the history of that particular month that shows it. I think that would be the response to, you know, what was the net effect.
Right, right. And I was going to ask that we, if you could make a note that we ask Jack to come before us, just to kind of give us an update on how things are looking since
Yeah, they didn't have the July numbers.
No, they did not have the July numbers.
And
as
I
of
was
yet.
thinking about that. We're in
Yes.
August, what, 5th now?
Right,
6th?
yeah, so
We
all
should
he
look
could
at-
say is that
Yeah.
the foreclosures are
It's the
down. So it's a better picture than he has seen in a while. But he didn't have everything pulled together yet when they asked him. So I
Because
would like
ju-
him to come in and talk.
just
to us.
looking at the
Would you like him
newspaper.
to come in August, September?
You know, whenever he feels that he has
Gets the numbers. If
he
you
has the
have
numbers,
them
and I'd
available.
just like to see where we are to date.
What?
Just going back to, you know, when I used to analyze marketing figures, I think that a sensible look would be the first quarter.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
like July through the end of September, because I think that would give you the snapshot that you're looking for, because that would average out the, let's say, whatever immediate resistance there would be, and then you'd go back to what I would call habitual behavior. And I think that in the 3-month period, you get a picture compared to last year and compared to other years as far as whether or not there was any significant trending. Then you could do your regression.
Well, it wouldn't be that meaningful probably, but it's something, because
Yes.
when you look at the newspaper, the numbers of sales have increased. You know, the reported sales where they list
Right,
each
the
property
pages
by
get
town.
larger, yeah.
And you can see the pages are, they're
They're
larger
larger
than they
than
were
they used
in
to be.
March and April.
Right,
Of course,
absolutely.
the other effect that that's out there is the 9.5% unemployment.
That's
And,
right.
You know, and that's, unless we do have the benefit here, in this county, that a lot of money comes in from outside of Massachusetts, and because of that, as other areas recover and look to, if they look to either second homes or retirement homes, that would put us in a good position, because right now, with the market price down, that makes it a more desirable opportunity for somebody that that is beginning to see some growth in their personal income.
As they say, the eagle flies over Cape Cod regularly.
Yeah.
In terms of,
That is a very good thing. All right. On that note,
So anyway, so just to be sure on this, Kara's going to tell us who signed up or not.
yes,
Okay.
Kara will
If
send out a
nobody-
memo.
If nobody signed up, we'll draw straws.
We'll,
And
that's
somebody
right.
will show up at the next meeting.
And someone will show up at the next meeting. And when you give us that, you can let us know the next.
Okay,
We'll do
thanks.
that. Are there any questions?
Or comments?
Is
Yes,
next
sir.
week the road trip?
Yes, next week is our road trip. We are on the road with Bill Clark and the Cooperative Extension. So
Taking a
Uh,
rap, taking
we
a-
are, and this is a lot of fun. You are going, right, Steve?
Yes.
Yes, it's amazing. All of the things that all of productive and necessary and important programs that the cooperative. You're going to be going. I hope you'll enjoy it. No, you'll have to send someone. No. Is this year okay?
and weren't we going to come back just a little early because the Duffy Center?
Yes,
is
we have
having
the
their,
Duffy Center is having a.
Yeah, we're all coming back.
Present, I forget what it is right now, but they're a tour in the it's their home help care
Yes,
for the
right.
homeless. That's right. So we will be back early for that 1 o'clock.
If you come,
You get to have free lunch, so make sure Matt comes.
Yeah.
I think it's 2 o'clock is when it's.
Yes.
Yes, that's it.
I think that's it.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Here we go, guys.
Bye, Ed. You.